What's going on, operators, and welcome back to another video. Today will be the first in a short series that will document and chronicle the building of a completely custom, from the ground up 1022, built entirely from scratch from components that we have on the table, which we'll talk about a little bit later in this video. Of course, there are going to be other videos to follow, at least one, potentially two, where we'll be taking it out to the range, taking it through its paces, sighting it in, and checking out some of the different types of ammo that may or may not work well with it. As you know, 22 is a bit of a fickle caliber, so yeah, it can definitely be a bit different depending on the firearm. Considering that this is going to be completely custom, yeah, we're definitely going to have to do that. Before we do that, though, we got to pay some bills, and we need to let you know about Tandemkross, who is responsible for bringing you a portion of this video by supplying their Manticore X lower. That's right, I said lower. There's a lower for 1022 now, and it's this. And it's awesome. There's a number of individual pieces in here as well, which of course we'll cover later on in the video. There's three flavors of this. There's the X, there's the standard, and there's the light. So there's one for everybody and everybody's budget and everybody's needs. So thank you so much to Tandemkross for helping to sponsor a portion of today's video. They did also send over their Pro Kit, which includes the MLOK Fore-end. I know, sounds crazy, stick with me. Their folding stock as well as their hex grip. So thank you so much, Tandemkross, for helping to make this video possible and for being so patient with us as we had a little bit of difficulty in getting this published in the timeline that we were hoping for. Now, that being said, I also want to thank another company, and they're not sponsors of us yet, but it's the CSC, the Calgary Shooting Center. They were just so nice to facilitate getting all this stuff across the border for us and then sending it to the studio at no charge to us. That was an absolutely baller move, and we really, really appreciate it. So please go check out the Calgary Shooting Center as well as Tandemkross and send them your love, as well as letting them know that CO sent you. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so first and foremost, let's bring this large cardboard box here and start picking through it. This kind of feels like Christmas a little bit. I'm going to start with the Manticore X, just because that is kind of going to be the centerpiece for everything that we're doing here. And as you can see, we do have the stock attached, but I'll do my best to kind of explain to you how that works and what you can expect. That's a really nice little click there. Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about the Manticore X here. This is a lower, so you heard me right the first time, for your 1022. There's a few different flavors of these. So this one is the X, that is the highest level one. They do have the standard Manticore, which as far as I know, doesn't have all the extras and stuff on here. Like, it's just a drop-in trigger pack, but it does feature all of their really cool things like their ultimate trigger and their cornerstone safety and the two-way mag release and the bolt lock, which is on the other side here. So it includes all of that. It just doesn't include all the extra modularity that you can kind of set it up like it's an AR, right? Then there is, of course, the light version, which includes sort of just the basics and is very, very cost friendly, but allows you to expand on it later on should you want to do that. Again, those are probably going to be the best choices for you, the light or the standard, based on the features that you need. And also, if you're planning on using something like a stock or like a drop-in chassis or something like that, that'd probably be the best thing. Now, if you want to run it naked, like we're going to do, then you definitely want the X, because you have the option to mount a grip here. This is going to be a standard AR grip, not too different from the CO AR Comfort Grip available on our website, as well as you're going to have a QD adapter right here, which is reversible, so you can have it on this side or this side. And then you also have a pick rail adapter, which is also reversible, so you can have it in this orientation. So when you attach the actual folding stock to it, it'll kind of come down at a 15-degree angle, and that's going to be really good for bringing the firearm generally up a little bit higher. Now, it looks kind of funny right now, but bringing that up a little bit higher, if you're using something like a red dot with an absolute co-witness or something like that, that will help to raise that rail up just a little bit. But if you flip this, what that's going to do is it's going to have this come out straight, and it does also affect which way this thing swings out. So you can actually mount this in one of two orientations. So everything is like reversible, and it's very, very modular and customizable, and I love that. The way that the stock actually folds is you're either going to have to pull up on the stock and pull down on basically the lower here, or it's going to be backwards from that, depending on how you have it mounted. So right now, I'm just going to pull down on the actual lower here and push up on the stock, and that's going to allow that to fold. That does lock, by the way, so you need to do the same thing in reverse to get it to come out. So that's actually really nice. The stock itself is pretty cool. It's all aluminum, just like the lower is. And then of course you do have a nice little ribbed rubberized back here. So that kind of sits in your shoulder and it doesn't slide around, which is kind of nice. Now I don't know what this is. This almost feels kind of like a pick rail to me here. It's not, I don't think so, but you could probably mount something on the inside of here. Like you could do custom adapters maybe. I'm not really sure. I think this is just for looks. It does look a little bit like, if you look at it this way, it looks a little bit like a little pick rail. But yeah, it's I think it's just for looks. So anyway, then there's basically some holes in here. So this is skeletonized to save a little bit of weight, but this does have a little heft to it, just so you know. So it's going to probably add a little bit of weight to your 1022. So if you're looking to build something that's like super lightweight and you're looking to go maybe in like a polymer stock solution, like a full body stock or chassis, then you probably might want to go with the standard Manticore, as that'll just kind of drop in and it's not going to add the extra weight from the grip or from the actual stock here. So just something to keep in mind. In any case, moving forward, I just want to talk about some of the features on the actual Manticore X itself. Here we've got some pins. So we've got 2 of these pins, and these have little ball detents that are held in place with springs. So what that allows you to do is that is going to replace your 2 pins that allow you to mate the bottom of this, or essentially the trigger pack or the lower, depending on which one you got, with your receiver. And this is nice because they're no longer just straight like the stock ones that you have on your 1022, so they're not going to move around. And we'll try to show you that later on, maybe in a future video. Now what you have here as well is you have a third one. These will come out, by the way. This is just for storage, so this is not meant to stay in here. But you have a bolt buffer here as well. And your bolt buffer, if you don't know, on your 1022, there are 2 body pins basically that hold the lower or the trigger pack to the receiver. And then there is a bolt buffer that goes in through the back. And the one that you get with your 1022 is probably going to be metal, like aluminum or something like that. This one is actually rubberized and meant to be a replacement for that OEM bolt buffer that you get with your 1022. And this will slide in the same place, and it will provide a little bit more cushion for that bolt coming back and slamming to the back of it. And it's also going to provide a tiny little bit of weight savings, probably not a whole lot, probably going to be outdone by all the aluminum on here. But yeah, it'll also just feel nicer, and it'll deaden some of that sound. It'll also maybe deaden some of that feel, so it's going to feel a little softer. Not that you really need that for a 1022, but anyway, it's nice that they include it. Now, since we're talking about rubber, we've got these 2 little gaskets here. You've got this orange one here and this other orange one here, and you can actually take these out. So the reason why Tandemkross included these is that it helps with fitment, getting this thing into your stock OEM chassis, right? Your OEM receiver. Now, the way that it's designed, as far as I know from the research that I've done, is that you want to keep both of these in to fit this into your stock receiver, and I can confirm that. It's a nice tight fit, and that allows for it not to move, so that you can just take these pins out. Of course, you take them out ahead of time, and you would put them through, and you wouldn't have to really worry about trying to clamp everything down with your hand, right? So that's a plus. But if you have an aftermarket receiver, you can take one of these out, or both of them out, depending on the fitment, because some aftermarket receivers are going to have slightly tighter tolerances, right? And they're going to be different depending on which one you get. So something to keep in mind, you can actually take these out and put them back in based on the fitment. So that's quite nice. Now, we have our safety on, so I just want to talk very quickly about some of the features on here. You've got your cornerstone safety right here. This is an ambi safety as well, so you can see that we have it on the other side. And the reason why the safety is currently on, meaning we can't fire, right, is because they actually recommend, Tandemkross recommends that you don't actually dry fire this until it's in the receiver. And the reason for this is because everything is a little bit tighter in here, right? So the spring tension on the hammer is a little bit more than what you'd expect on the stock hammer in your stock trigger pack in your 1022. And because everything's under tension here, if you were just to pull the trigger, this thing goes flying, you might lose your spring or other little tiny parts in there. So ideally, just try to keep your safety on until you mate this into your 1022, your receiver, and then you're good to go, right? We've got the ultimate trigger here as well. This is adjustable not just for the pull from about 2 3/4 pounds to about 5 pounds plus, according to Tandemkross, but it is also adjustable for over travel. And you can do that by putting a little Allen key right through the middle of the front of the trigger. There's a tiny little hole that adjusts a little set screw, and that adjusts your over travel. Now, if you want to adjust your actual trigger feel, if I can actually see it, there's a little tiny hole here right beside the hammer, and you want to put your Allen key, that's of course included in your package, in there, and that's going to adjust your trigger pull. So that's nice. Adjustable trigger right out of the box, and it's already installed, so you don't have to worry about it. Next thing is going to be their ambi, well, it is ambi, but their bidirectional mag release. This one's nice and big. It's big and chunky, and I quite like that because once you have your mags in there, depending on whether you want to use stock mags, you know, BX mags, or maybe you are using the H3CR, I think that's what they're called, mags, which I did order from Calgary Shooting Center, but I had an issue, and we'll talk about it. It wasn't an issue with them. It was a small issue with the mag. I just think maybe it was dropped or something like that on the way here, and the fitment wasn't, there was a little bit of a difference in fitment. But in any case, so this is going to allow you to release your magazine in both directions. So it's kind of nice if you don't want to have to take your hand off your firearm. You can just kind of push forward and have that mag drop out, and you can have another mag ready, put it in, and off you go. But if you want to take your mag out the traditional way, which is, you know, with the banana mags, especially like the BX25 mags, you would grab them kind of with your 4 fingers, and then you would pull. So you can do that both ways. Now, I have a little tiny gripe here. There is some nice texture here, but this is all aluminum, right? So if your hands are sweaty, you're probably gonna slip a little bit with this. The texture is only on the front, not the back. And then I think if this was maybe coated in some plastic dip or something like that, or just a little bit like rubberized, I feel like that would offer a lot more grip. It's not a big deal, and trust me, I am trying my hardest to actually find flaws and find gripes here, and I'm having a really hard time. So this is one of them. It's not a big deal. They did add this. I think they were listening to customer feedback, being able to have a little bit of texture on the front here. So that's great, but I think if this piece right here was rubberized, that would probably make things even easier, because you wouldn't have to worry about, you know, kind of slipping and sliding off of this. Again, just a minor, tiny little gripe. I'm gonna flip this thing over so you guys can see a bolt hold here. So this is their bolt hold, and it's just on the left side of the firearm, but it's pretty easily accessible. So if you're just holding it like this, if you put your bolt to the rear position, right, and you can kind of swing over and then just press that. I might be, yeah, I can even do it with my index finger. So of course you might be a little bit different. You might have to do it, you know, a different way, where you may have to hold the bolt here and then kind of finagle it on the other side with your left hand. But if you have, I think even just medium-sized hands, you should be okay with this. It is a little bit weird. It does feel a little strange just to get around to the other side, but you'll get used to it. It's definitely a little bit more of a stretch than the one that was just in front of the trigger guard on the original Ruger. But the benefit of having this one is that the moment that you bring your bolt back, it snaps downwards and allows that bolt to fall forwards without actually having to touch it again. So it's nice. It's a little bit extra effort to get it locked, but once you do have it locked, the moment that bolt comes back and you're ready for action again, the bolt lock disengages and you can just be on your merry way. So that's great. So yeah, I think that's actually everything that I've covered on this. I'm just trying to look and see if there's anything that I missed. But you do also have the hex grip. So you're not, if you order the Manticore X, so even their most expensive Manticore, it doesn't come with the Pro Pack. So the Pro Pack includes their hex grip, which is this. It's a nice rubberized grip. You can see that there's a little hex pattern there, and there's some nice indentations. It's got some kind of, almost feels like rubber. It feels really nice. It feels very nice in the hand. You have a little compartment on the bottom here that pops open. There's a single O-ring in there to seal from dust and moisture. And then with the Pro Pack, you're also gonna get essentially the pick rail mount. You're gonna get the stock here, and you are also gonna get this thing, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail later on, but this is their MLOK Fore-end. I got a little 3D printed foregrip here, but this is great. It's like the most adorable little thing that you'll ever see, but you've got some MLOKs on both sides, so you can see there. And you've got some MLOKs on the bottom as well. So that's great. You can put a little foregrip on here if you want to run and gun. You can put a little bipod on here if you want to do a little PRS. It's very, very adaptable. I found that this was really way too small initially, but then when I put it on the gun, it kind of made sense. And we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail later on. But yeah, so those are the three things that you get with the Pro Pack. And then of course, separately, you've got your Manticore X, which is... man, it's an awesome piece of kit. But anyway, I'm going to stop drooling all over this now, and we're going to talk about some of the other parts in the box, because there's a few. So let's get it. Okay, so keeping in line with this whole theme of modularity and customizability, let's go ahead and now talk about these two little things. Now, this is a mil-spec buffer tube. A lot of you guys probably already know that if you have firearms that use stocks made for mil-spec buffer tubes. But then we also have this little doohickey right over here. This is a pick rail mount on one side and your standard mil-spec buffer tube threads on the other side. I'm pretty sure you see where I'm going with this. You've got a castle nut on here as well, just like you'd expect with any mil-spec buffer tube. And what's great about this is if you have your Manticore X, and whether you got the Pro Kit or just the folding stock, or maybe you didn't get it, maybe you do have it and you just want to switch it out, maybe you're just going and doing something completely different with your firearm, like hunting as opposed to just target shooting, and you want a little more adjustability. I mean, there's infinite options here, but you can do that now. And so what's interesting is both of these are from SBI, but I do know from talking to Tandemkross several weeks ago that they either were planning on introducing this to their website or they already have, so make sure to check their website for details. But I'm talking about just the mil-spec buffer tube adapter, so just this part that hooks on to the pick rail portion of the back of the Manticore X. Keep in mind, if you have a standard Manticore or if you have a Manticore Lite, those are both drop-in systems and they will not have that rear pick rail set up. So it's only for the Manticore X, but it gives you infinite flexibility. And again, I got these from SBI just because I got my receiver from SBI, which we'll check out in a moment. But as far as I know, they are either planning to or already selling the adapter on the website. Whether they also sell the buffer tubes, I'm not 100% sure, so you'll have to check that out for yourself, but that may not be a bad idea, and I have a feeling that they'll probably be watching this video. So if you guys are watching it, consider maybe doing like a little combo or something like that, just to make it super easy for people to be like, yes, that's what I want. I want an MOE stock or whatever on the back of my 1022. I want to buy this combo from the people I already know and trust, and bam. You're done, right? So very simple. But this is great for customizability because now you can swap things out based on your use case. You can change things based on your comfort, based on what ergos you need, based on anything, really, just as you would with any AR. So that's pretty fantastic. Okay, so we're gonna need something to make things go boom, right? So I decided that I was going to get an aftermarket bolt, and this one wasn't sent from Tandemkross, but I figured I was already getting so many other things from them that I would want to give this a try, especially since all the great marketing that I've heard about it. So I really wanted to put it to the test and see how it works. So this, I'm just going to open this up so I can show you guys what this looks like. It's all blacked out, which is a very good start, but it actually comes in this really nice packaging. There's a little bit of foam there. Not too much though, no frills, no gimmicks, but yeah, that's going to be your bolt, and that feels really nice. A little Tandemkross on the side. Looks very similar to what you would expect, but there's a couple of interesting features about this. So from what I can remember watching their videos on the TK YouTube channel, they did talk about having a custom extractor on here, as well as having a custom firing pin and a solution for that firing pin to move in a linear fashion, resulting in more predictable strikes on the primer. So that is definitely going to be something that I'd like to test out, especially with a variety of different types of ammo, and we'll do that in a future video. But this just feels really good. It actually feels, if anything, a little heavier than the stock bolt, but I think I quite like that. And I do like the idea of having more predictable primer strikes, so there's that. And yeah, the nicer extractor should be a little bit more durable, again, from what I hear. I'll try to put more details down below so you guys can check that out. But yeah, so far so good. That feels really nice in the hand. Now again, it's to be determined how it's going to work in the aftermarket receiver, since everything here is pretty much designed to be just a drop-in, right, for your standard 1022 receiver. But considering we're going to be using a custom one, I'm very curious to see how this is actually going to work in there. And yeah, happy to test it out. So that is the bolt. It was actually fairly affordable. I was kind of surprised. I thought it was going to be more expensive. Of course, we're a wife-friendly channel here, fellas, so we're not going to talk about price just in case you've got your loved ones peeking over your shoulder. But I'm going to leave some links that you can follow and maybe do some bathroom reading in the privacy of your porcelain throne room. Now, that being said, let's go ahead and move on to some of the other parts that I picked out for this build. Okay, so in no particular order, we are going to be talking about this next, this little baggie here that has kid written on the front of it, which is all sorts of foreshadowing. And if you've ever played around with a 1022, then you probably already know exactly what's in this baggie. We have a couple of bolts here, predictably so. And for those bolts, we have a V-block, right? So you've got this little thing right here, named so because of the way that it's constructed. 2 holes in there, and this is going to be sort of our mounting solution for getting the barrel, which unsurprisingly is also made by Kid, onto the receiver, which is made by SBI. So it'll be interesting to see how that fits. We may need to do the whole freeze the receiver, heat the barrel, or the other way around, an anti-seize solution that a lot of people use for fitting barrels. But in any case, we just wanted to keep things nice and consistent. So considering that we went with Kid for the barrel, we decided it was probably prudent to go with Kid for the V-block as well. All right, so next up, let's move on to this. This is just a little bipod that I picked up on Amazon. And yeah, it's good enough for what we're doing here. If anything, I could always toss a Harris or something on it. There's a little adapter here. We'll talk about this in a second. But I'll leave a link for this down below if you guys want to check it out. It's very cost efficient. And I'll be honest, I just bought it because it was red. And I just wanted to kind of go with the colorway that we're building, especially with how awesome the Manticore X looks. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take this out and just show that to you. You know, for what I paid for it, honestly, looks pretty damn good. Like, this is a swivel stud. We'll talk about that in a second as well. That's not necessarily going to be a problem. We are only mounting using MLOKs, but we have ways of getting around that. So, yeah, there's some nice red anodizing for the frame here. The springs look pretty solid. Of course, you've got your swivel stud down here. And then the legs look like they're made of like red and black carbon fiber. I don't know if it actually is carbon fiber, but to be honest, I don't care. It just looks cool. Like, the legs work fine. You know, they have ample spring tension. Is it going to be the build quality of a Harris that's 5 to 7 times more expensive? Probably not. But do you need that? Probably not. I don't know. It's up to you, right? So we're going to go ahead and put this back in. Bipods can be expensive, so I decided just to go with something, you know, affordable, right? I want to show you this as well because it's kind of nice. There's a lot of these companies, even though there's thousands of them on Amazon, they're all probably making the stuff in the same factory, but they do at least include a lot of extras and stuff, and then I can really appreciate that, to be honest. So you get a little Allen key here, and then of course you get a little adapter. So this is a swivel stud to Picatinny adapter. And again, you might be thinking to yourself, but CO, you don't have Picatinny, you have MLOKs. And yes, I know that. So I also ended up getting some MLOK bolts and MLOK T-nuts. And then we also got a couple of pick rails that mount directly to MLOK slots. So we've kind of finagled our way into making this work. Is it a little extra work? I guess. Is it a little unnecessary? Couldn't you just go and get yourself like a bespoke MLOK bipod? Yeah, I guess you could. You'd probably pay a lot more money for it. So, to be honest, with this build, the bipod is kind of secondary. I don't really care whether I have that or a shooting rest or whatever. I just kind of want to build it and kind of see where it goes. You know, it's like, it's one of those times where it's more about the journey than it is about the destination. But regardless, we'll put a link to that down below. If you're interested, you can check it out. It does help the channel. So any of the affiliate links that we have below in any of our videos that are Amazon affiliate links, they support the channel by giving us a little kickback on what you end up picking up, and they don't cost you anything extra. So yeah, let Daddy Bezos pay for it, right? Why not? All right, let's move on to our next piece. We've only got a few left. Okay, so this next one, I think it's just hardware, so I'm going to do everything kind of in one go. So we've got a little package here from Feyachi, which you guys have known from previous videos on the channel. And then we also have a little baggie here with T-nuts and bolts, as I was talking about before, for the MLOK system. So that one is pretty self-explanatory, but for this one, I want to open this up and kind of show you guys what this looks like. And I'm going to try my best to open it right way up, because this actually does come with some T-nuts as well. So there we go. If I can put this actually back inside here and just take one of these out if I can to actually show you guys what it looks like. Not that you haven't seen one of these before, but yeah, there you go. So we have these little pick rail sections. These are very useful. The only thing that I'm kind of a little, I don't want to say ticked off, but I'm just kind of like not impressed with is it's great that they come with all the extra hardware and stuff that you need. That's fantastic. But I really wish that they had a kit that was symmetrical. So if you can see here, I know it's a little dark, but they're all 3 different lengths, right? So we have a short one, a medium one, and a long one. And so if you want something that's symmetrical, then you need to buy 2 of these, which, I don't know, I feel like that's kind of dumb. I think that you should have a kit that is either like, you know, one of every size, if that's what somebody wants. And then there should be a kit that has a symmetrical solution, right? So something that you can just buy once and you have 2 mediums or 2 shorts or whatever. So that's what that is. We'll link that as well. And then of course, if you want, so for me, like the reason why I got the extra T-nuts and the bolts and everything is just because I do a lot of 3D printing, as you guys know. So for me, I like to be able to make my own things and then attach them to my firearms. Of course, unregulated things. We're talking about grips and fore-ends and things like that. Nothing serious. But yeah, I got those extra little T-nuts and bolts just so I can pretty much fit anything to any of my firearms without really having to worry about it. Although if you are just getting these little kits, they should come with all the hardware that you need. Do double check the website though, and that should give you all the info that you need to know. So from what I can see here, we only have, let's see, maybe 1 or 2 things left here, and they're going to be pretty important. At least one of them is, and I kind of saved them for the end because, I don't know, it's pretty special. And if you guys have been online looking at SBI stuff, then you might know what I'm talking about now, especially if you've been paying attention from before. But in any case, let's have a look at the receiver. All right, so here it is. This is the Model C71. I love the Canadian flag on there, by the way. It's just like, I love supporting Canadian business. I think that's great. I know that there's a lot of really cool stuff that our brothers and sisters from the South get to enjoy. And in case you guys are curious, yes, we're jealous. Very, very jealous. But we do have some cool stuff here in Canada. Not a lot, but a few. And this is one of them. So this is the Model C71 receiver. I don't know, man. When I saw this, I was just like, holy crap, it's red. I want it. Shut up and take my money. And what I really like about this is, I don't know all the features that there are. I'm sure that there are some things that I might be missing, but I'm just going to kind of go over this very quickly, and maybe we'll talk about it at length when we've kind of got everything assembled in the following video, or well, in the next video in the series. I'm not sure if that's going to be the next video on the channel, but yeah, we can talk about it then. For now, I just kind of want to show you what this looks like. So you have your ejection port on this side. You've got, of course, your precision drilled holes there for your 2 cross pins. Those are the ones that you're going to be using that are provided with your Manticore X. You've got the little hole here that's going to be for your bolt buffer. So remember the one that we were talking about that is sitting inside the little storage area on the Manticore X beside the pins. You're going to be putting that through there. All right, and yeah, then we've got these 2 bolts here. So this is, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I noticed that with the receiver, you do get the 2 bolts for mounting the barrel, but you do not get the V-block. I think it would be nice for SBI to include a V-block with the receiver. I think that's just kind of, it might incentivize people to actually buy their barrels because they do make their own barrels as well. So that might be something to consider. Is it a huge letdown? Well, not really, but it would have been a nice include, right? And again, it probably may have incentivized some people to go with an SBI barrel as opposed to hunting for a V-block and a barrel elsewhere, right? So in any case, just a little gripe, but like not really a big deal. The machining on this feels really, really nice. Now, what I should mention is that these are made to take all the standard Ruger mags, but they can also take Tough 22 and H3CR mags as well. So they are pre-modified for that. If you're wondering, modified, that sounds illegal. No, it's not. Rimfire magazines are not regulated to the same degree as centerfire magazines are. I've explained this in some of my videos, and we continue to talk about this on Discord. It tends to be a very recurring topic, so if you want to talk to us about that, definitely come by our Discord. We've got that link down below, and we can talk about it some more. Now, this is a serialized part, I should mention as well. So if you are buying one of these, you are going to need a PAL for this. You're going to need a PAL for any magazine that you buy as well. So something to keep in mind. Of course, that shouldn't be a problem for you if you own firearms, because you should already have one. But if you're just getting into them and you're looking at getting into a new, custom-built 1022 as your first rifle, first of all, I applaud you. That's quite bold. But second of all, yeah, it is a serialized part. Anything that is serialized like this tends to be regulated as well, so keep that in mind. You'll need to have your PAL for this. Unlike some of the other things, like some of the hardware and grips and stocks and stuff like that, that stuff, I mean, you can even 3D print that stuff and you're fine, but stuff like this is essentially the firearm, right? Even though it's really the barrel that has, the chamber, and that's how it should, anyway. So that it's the serialized part is my point. So yeah, nice anodizing. It's red. These do come in other colors as well. I believe they come in black, and I think they come in blue as well. And from what I understand, the C71 is just one of 2 models that they have. They do have another model that I can't quite remember. Maybe you can help me in the comments with that. We've got our space for our barrel in here, and the integrated pick rail is something that I really love on this. This is your standard mil-spec 1913 pick rail. That's going to have a little bit of an extension here over the barrel. That's quite nice. It gives you just a little bit more, I think, maybe one extra space, but hey, we'll take it over the top of the barrel here for allowing you a little bit more flexibility with your optics. So that's really quite nice. You can put a red dot on here. You can put an LPVO on here. I'm probably going to be putting a new LPVO that I'm getting from Discovery Optics on here. If you haven't heard of Discovery Optics, they are an affordable optic brand from China, but you can buy from them direct. And if you're interested in checking any of their stuff out, you can actually get a discount going through my website. So if you go to CanadianOperator.ca and you click on the link where you can see Discover Excellence and then their scopes, you click on that link and then you can use the code CanadianOperator and you'll save a further 10% on their already incredible prices. I was able to have in my possession the 1-6 for a little while, and sorry, I'm digressing here a little bit, and I was generally quite happy with it, but I decided to return it and go for the 1-8, which is already on its way to me. So if you'd like to see that review, definitely subscribe and stick around because we'll be talking about those a lot more, and you better believe if I'm going to be pushing those things, I'm going to be scrutinizing them to make sure that they live up to my standards, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But in any case, that is probably what we're going to be putting on top of here. A nice solid integrated pick rail. I really like that. And on the back, you actually have a little hole here as well. Now, this is going to be kind of weird because like you're going to have something kind of sticking out from here, right? Because we have our naked build. So we're going to have a stock kind of sticking out from the back here because that's where the back of the Manticore X is going to be. But if you take that off, you can actually stick a little cleaning rod through here and you can just go straight through the barrel, which is actually quite nice. So you don't have to finagle anymore trying to go in through the ejection port here or going in through the bottom. I mean, you can do that as well, but if you have a straight cleaning rod, you can actually just go directly through here, which is quite nice. So it's great that they thought of that. So that is the C71. I don't want to spend too much more time on that. We'll just drop that back in for now. Okay, so next up, let's talk about barrels, and this was probably one of the biggest points of contention for me out of this entire project, just because, well, admittedly, I don't know too much about them. Thankfully, we have a really awesome community that helped me out on Discord, so thank you to all who did. You know who you are, and they helped me to kind of put things into perspective and understand what I was getting into. Now, the reason for some of these parts is just because, well, my 1022 is one of my oldest in my collection. Not necessarily to say that the firearm is old, it's the oldest one in my collection, meaning I've had it longer than pretty much everything else. Yet I shoot it the least out of everything else, even though it's the most affordable thing to shoot. And so most of the time when I find myself opening up my gun safe, I just look at it and go, I'll take it out next time. Or sometimes I'll just say, well, I guess I haven't shot it for a while, so I suppose I'll just take it out today. And I really want to enjoy my 1022 again. I feel like that maybe because it's the oldest one in my collection and I haven't really made many changes to it is kind of why I've started to sort of fall out of love with it. So I wanted to, when picking a barrel, which is probably one of the biggest cornerstones of any rifle, for it to be a good barrel that will last me a long time and increase the pleasure that I get from shooting my 1022. So after much consideration and deliberation, much talking with my community and watching videos and reading reviews, I decided to go with this. This is from Kid, and this one definitely cost me a little bit more than I like to admit. It was probably about 1.5 Ruger 1022s, so that kind of puts things into perspective for you. But I'd like to take a moment to talk about this to kind of explain some of the features on here and also one of the reasons why I chose this. So first and foremost, this is a 20-inch barrel. They do have them available in 18 and 16.5 inches as well. And I got this off of Delask's website, I believe. I do think that CSC also sells them, and there's probably other places in Canada as well. Not 100% sure if you can get these direct from Kid, but in any case, that's where I got mine. It came relatively fast. It took about a week maybe or so, maybe a week and a half. And when I took it out and just looked at it, I was really quite impressed. First of all, the weight of this thing is kind of insane. It's really, really heavy. And, you know, I've been used to the standard or somewhat pencil profile barrel on my carbine, my Ruger 1022, what it came with stock. So when I picked this up, I was really surprised, even though I knew I was getting a bull barrel, meaning thicker, heavier, little bit better with managing thermals and slowing the shooter down a little bit too, especially the fact that I read this on Kids' description of their own product, saying that because it does slow you down a little bit, it does tend to improve accuracy as well. So I found that interesting. But in any case, these come in a nice blued finish. These are chrome moly steel, carbon steel, I believe, for the main construction, chrome moly on the inside. There's a 1/16 twist in here, so that's pretty standard as far as that goes. But what's really interesting is that these are bored and rifled in Germany by a separate company, and then these are shipped off over to Kid for final machining, which is kind of cool. So moving forward here at the very tip, we've got, as you could probably imagine, a threaded tip, which is really nice. Now in Canada, these are not as useful as you would like them to be, but you've got a standard 1/2 inch 28 thread on there. So if you're in Canada, you could put a flash hider on it. You could put a muzzle brake. I mean, I don't know why you'd want to do that. You really don't have to, but you can. If you're in the US, one of our brothers and sisters to the south, then you could have a little more fun with this. You could put a little compensator or moderator on there and shoot silenced with, well, I don't want to say silenced, shoot suppressed, and even probably get some good performance out of some subsonics there. Probably to the point where you might not even need ears. I've seen that, and it's pretty amazing. And yes, I'm jealous. Stop asking. All right, now next up, one of the interesting features here is that these are hand lapped individually each. So that's quite nice to see that attention to detail. And from what I read as well, the extractor cutout on these is sort of a convex shape to allow for more consistent fits and more consistent use of the extractor, so that it results in hopefully fewer extraction issues and fewer ejection issues. So that's quite interesting as well. Other than that, there's not too much more that I can remember about this. I'm kind of just going off the top here, but it feels really, really nice. Now, there are some other options, of course, available. These do come in sort of like a silver sort of look, and I think I've seen polished and brushed as well. They come with different finishes. They come with different types of fluting as well. The fluting, honestly, is not going to make a huge difference in terms of weight, because this thing is already quite heavy, but that's by design. The fluting, I feel like it's going to create a little bit more surface area on the surface to be able to maybe improve the thermals slightly. And what I mean by the thermals is when the barrel heats up and cools down, it can have an impact on your accuracy and on how that round is going through the bore, right? So if you have a pencil profile barrel or a standard profile barrel and you do a lot of shooting all at once, you could see a change a lot quicker in a barrel like that with respect to your accuracy than something like this. So that being said, these are slip fit. I don't know whether I'm going to have to do the whole, freeze one of them, heat up the other one, and put some anti-seize on it. I'm probably going to have to do that. Again, unfortunately, because of YouTube's predatory policies with respect to firearms, I'm not going to be able to show you that as much as I'd really love to do that. But hey, again, if you have any questions, come on down, chat with us in Discord, and we're definitely going to be popping up some pictures of this as it is nearing completion, so you'll be able to see that build coming along there. But that is going to do it. Those are all the parts. So please let me know down below if you have any questions or anything like that. If you want to come and discuss this with us at length, you can do so on our Discord server. We'll link that down below as well. And if you'd like to support what I'm doing here, for whether you find this educational, entertaining, or maybe a little bit of both, or just like that I'm creating firearms content in Canada, which admittedly there's not a lot of, you can help me continue to do what I'm doing simply by just liking the video, subscribing, sharing it with your friends, and checking out our VIP program if you're so inclined, also linked down below, or CanadianOperator.ca, where you can get yourself one of these fancy two-way 4CA shirts to help advocate for firearms rights everywhere. That being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this video helpful and enjoyable, and hope to see you in the next one. But until then, and as always, happy shooting.